Live stream has commenced.
So I can call the meeting to order. We good to go?
Yes.
Okay, so again, good afternoon, everyone. Good to see everybody. And so this is my first meeting that I'm chairing, and so I'm quite honored to do that. And I want to again thank everyone for being here today. So let's get started. Those are my initial remarks. I think the second item is the land and African ancestral acknowledgements. So let's do that. So we honor the land that we're on, which has been the site of human activity since time immemorial. It is the traditional territories of the Huron-Wendat, Shinabeg, and the Chippewa and the Haudenosaunee Confederacy, and most recently the Mississaugas of the Credit River First Nations. Ontario is covered by 46 treaties and other agreements, and it is home to many Indigenous nations from across the Turtle Island, including the Inuit and the Métis. These treaties and other agreements, including the One Dish and One Spoon Wampum Belt Covenant, are agreements to peacefully share and care for the land and its resources. Other Indigenous nations, Europeans, and newcomers were invited into this covenant in the spirit of respect, peace, and friendship. We are mindful of broken covenants, and we strive to make this right with the land and with each other. The second one is the African ancestral acknowledgement. We are all treaty people. Many of us have come here as settlers, immigrants, newcomers in this generation or generations past. We would also like to acknowledge those who came here forcibly, particularly as a result of the transatlantic slave trade. Therefore, we honor and pay tribute to the ancestors of African origin and descent. That's done. And so I guess the first official item is to approve approval of the public meeting agenda. So if I can have a motion to approve the public meeting agenda.
So move, Mr. Chair.
Okay. So that's approved. And item number 4, any conflict of interest declaration? Okay, there being none, then the next item is approval of the CGHRC public minutes meeting of January 17th, 2023. So a mover for that?
Can I have a question on the minutes there?
Absolutely. Brenda, go ahead.
It was regarding let me just find the exact page here. The employee engagement survey. Where are we? Yeah. This is page 4 of the minutes. And we had a discussion here about the employee engagement survey as well as the equity, diversity, and inclusion survey. And they're both being done separately, if I understand that. I think it was Mr. Dave Slater who mentioned that. And I just wanted to know, where are we in that? Is there follow-up to that, or will that be dealt with in another matter, another minute, or another meeting? I just couldn't remember where it was at.
Okay, go ahead.
Through you, Mr. Chair, I was going to suggest that we adopt the minutes, and then we can deal with that as matters arising from the minutes.
Perfect. Thank you. I just didn't know where to put that in.
Thanks.
Thank you, Fareed. Okay, then item number 6, approval of the CGHRC closed session minutes of the meeting of January 17th. If we kind of a mover for that.
Yeah, so move, Brenda.
Brenda?
Yeah.
Okay. And we need seconder on these for this as well, Fareed?
Yes, seconded, Carrie.
Carrie, thank you. Seconded. All right. So that item is done. And then item 7, action items for review. That's for information purposes. So
let's see.
I think Fareed, we're moving this item.
I think, sorry, I just got to put my microphone on. Sorry, yeah. So I think that item, Mr. Chair, is there for any members who would like to go through any of the action item. It is normally placed there as a tracking database, as it were. But you may want to deal with the issue that Brenda raised, which is to get some clarification on the employee survey and the survey dealing with diversity, equity, and inclusion.
Okay, so let's go back to that one on Brenda's question then. Can someone, who would answer that?
Yes, through the chair.
Tom?
Yes, I was I had that as part of my update, but I think if Dave,
Yeah.
are you able to, Dave, are you able to provide just more detail on this? Or did we lose Dave?
Certainly, through you, Chair. Actually the EDI survey and the employee engagement survey are going to be done together
Oh, okay.
as a single survey, but the EDI portion will be a separate section within the survey.
Okay.
And currently we're working on gathering up our business requirements for both the employee engagement and the EDI survey. And at the same time, our finance team is working to get us access to a broader public sector vendor of record portal that includes many vendors who are qualified and experienced with this kind of work and offer favorable rates. And we're in the process of preparing the procurement for the RFP.
So we're
That's
going
where
out,
we are today.
we're going outside for assistance on how to draft a survey. Okay, and
Yes.
that was going to be my follow-up point is could you make sure you, I mean, there's lots of materials here on asking the right questions in order to get the right demographics, because the federal government language is deemed not appropriate now. Okay, like visible minority, that's it. And
Absolutely.
also to break down particularly the Black community, because of course they come from multiple backgrounds, and religion questions as well. So I wonder if it might be useful, or I don't know how useful, if talking to is it pronounced Caber, the anti-Black? I don't know all the initials, I'm sorry, but you know who I mean. Whether they would have some knowledge base about trying to capture demographics, whether they might have some assistance here. And because this is a field that's been well developed now across particularly the academics and doing research. So I just want to make sure we start off on the right foot and get it right from the beginning. Right. So I would say if when you choose your vendors, make sure that they're current on that stuff and know what they're talking about.
Absolutely. And to your point about Caber, we're engaged with them on a regular basis, and we'll be ensuring that that they have input into the questions we are asking, so that we get the right information.
Right.
So.
And with respect to the employee survey, and they're down integrating the two things. Tom, you mentioned that one of our meetings, I can't remember which one, the idea of champions in order to get staff compliance.
Yes.
And I want to ensure that we don't leave it to, well, they can decide what if they don't want to do it. I think it should be a requirement of employment that you participate in these things and as fully as you can answer. And if there you know, there will be people who won't want to do that. I understand that, but that's where your champions might come in. So if you could look into that as a way of maybe ensuring the highest participation rate.
Yes. Yeah.
Let's not call it compliance, because then people will complain. Make it participation rate, you know, just to, garbage in, garbage out. If you don't get good data in, then you can't make good decisions. So that's my point. That's all. Thank you.
Thank you, Brenda. And okay, so now Fareed, back to item number 7 on action items.
Yeah, thanks, Mr. Chair. I'm not sure if the members have any questions or any follow-up on that list. We normally keep a running tab of those items that were raised at previous meetings. So unless a member has or one of the directors has a question on that, we can move on.
Okay, any questions on that item?
Is that there's no thing that's titled action list. Is that the one pager here? Corporate Governance Human Resources Committee. The one with 3 items in it. Is that the action list?
That's it, Brenda.
That's it,
That's
okay.
it, yes.
Just label it, it doesn't say action list.
A good point, Brenda. It doesn't.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, thank you. So let's go to item number 8, the CEO update. So if we could get an update, Mr. CEO.
Yes, thank you. And through the chair to the committee, so we did cover off one of the items that was the employee engagement survey. So I have 3 others just as an update. And the first is around our governance work plan, and we had the workshop last week, and a lot of really good input into the plan. And just want to let the board know that we are now working on kind of revising the governance work plan. The plan is to bring it back to the May meeting of this corporate governance and HR, and we're working on the action plan and the in May a status update to that plan. So just a quick update on that work. And also, the second item is just making sure that we keep, the board informed on our progress around the selection of the board, the appointment of the board. As I mentioned previously, many of the appointments end as of May, and the 2 councillors that continues, and the chairs until July. We have, Grant had reached out to the city as early as January, to ask them, what will be the process. And we have received some correspondence back from the city that, they are aware that the process needs to be undertaken. They did identify to us that, members can continue to serve until successors are appointed.
Okay,
And the city did indicate that they are currently working on TCHC appointments, and then they were looking at Toronto Seniors Housing would be next. And it is their intention to be able to take something to the July council. And so at Fareed's request, we did ask something for more specific with timelines. So we still would like to receive that from the city, but just wanting to provide the board an update on what we know kind of today. And then just my final point was around was the CABR confronting anti-Black racism training that's being undertaken. So we have been working with CABR as of the end of last year, and in fact have education through CABR lined up for all of the staff. So there's roughly 280, and the plan is to start in later March into April. And so CABR they've worked with us. They did a pilot test with our staff, and it will be a 1-day session. They had done the training in the past over 3 half days. It makes it tough to challenge and cover. It makes it tough to schedule coverage in the buildings, and so we're moving to 1 full day. And also the scenarios that they developed are seniors focused. So that just wanted to let the board know that extensive education it will be underway shortly. And those were my updates.
Okay. Thank you, Tom. Any questions for Tom on his update?
Just a comment on the selection of the board and succession planning there. In my conversations with the Public Appointments Office, they said they would be contacting each of the board members as to their intentions and desires. But I would suggest, given the tightness of time, that maybe if you're still interested in serving, that you go online and reapply. A fairly simple process, just to indicate your interest. Always about keeping things simple and just being prepared. So if you wait for them, it might be too rushed, right? So
Thank you.
Okay, any other questions at all for Tom? All right, thank you very much. So let's move along to item number 9, which is a motion to move into closed session, because the other items from 10 to 14 are in that closed session. Before we do move to the closed session, Fareed or Tom, any comments or any information we need to know before we get into the closed session?
Not from me, Mr. Chair.
All right, so then
Nor myself.
Okay, so then let's have a motion to move into closed session, and a seconder, a first or motion, a mover, I should say, and then a seconder.
So moved, Fareed.
And Brenda, thank you so much. So let's take a moment to make sure that we're in closed session, and then we will commence in a couple of moments here.